I am the Lonely Necron, and welcome to my basement. So, back in January, a buddy of mine, Billy Bleak Rides, loaned me his Night Castellan to fool around with and do some experiments with. And he's got it painted up as an Ad Mech Night Castellan. And last Saturday, he came over and loaned me the rest of his Ad Mech army. So, we're going to have some fun with them. And to start that off, we're going to put some orks up against some of the Ad Mech. Not all of them, but some of them. I have high expectations because I haven't seen these guys played in a while, and I have high hopes. The thing on the far right is my Night Lords Rhino, and the thing on the far left is a bunker that I got from Etsy a while back. And then the thing in the middle is this cardboard thing that originally was like a proxy for the bunkers, but it ended up mostly being a proxy for the Rhino. I don't know. I'm going to end up using two of those today as proxies for trucks for the orks. I don't know. So today's experience will be on the rubble strewn orky planet thing. I don't know. The orks have been fighting here a lot lately, so they can fight the Ad Mech here again today. It'll be a good time. Yeah. My regular Warhammer tape measure broke last game, so I had to bust out my Fat Max. Been a long time. So for today's Orky experience, we have this decent-sized warband, led by a war boss in mega armor. We got a mech gun with a bubble checker mech gun. Two groups of boys, one with a rocket launcher and one with a big shooter. Group of commandos that have pretty much everything. They get the breacher, the shooter, the burner, and the rocket launcher, and then a bunch of other boys. You have the Death Dread, the Death Copters. I think that's the War Trike. So then they have these two crappy proxy cardboard things that we're going to have each squad of boys riding in. 10 wounds probably. I'll have to look up the stats for the trucks. But yeah. Death Killer War Trike, that's the name. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. So yeah, that's what we got for the orcs. Alright, so this is what we have for today's Ad Mech experience. We have a Tech Priest Dominus, a Tech Priest Engine Seer, two squads of Skitarii Rangers, one squad of Skitarii Vanguard, one squad of Sicarian Ruststalkers, three Cataphren Breachers, two Castellan Robots. These things are so awesome. I need like a Necron. Well, I know there's Necron versions, but still. An Iron Strider Bellistari, and a Scorpius Doomstrider, which will be carrying the Rangers. So yeah, this will be my first experience actually playing these guys. Played against them a couple of times against Bleak Rides, and against a couple guys at the Mallhammer. But I've never actually played them myself, so this will be fun. Good times. I'll roll for deployment. We'll set up the thing, and we'll start the happiness. Alright, so the orcs won the deployment roll, so they have chosen this side of the board to set up on. So we got the Death Copters, the Proxy Truck, the Bubble Checo with the Warlord, and the other Proxy Truck, and the Death Dread and the War Truck on the end there. The Commandos did their little with, further away I think it's 9 or 12 inches away from their deployment zone. They are like 12 inches away, so Ad Mech ended up getting this side. The Rust Suckers with the Dominus. The Dune Strider. Vanguard, which for some reason can't deploy forward even though they're called Vanguard. Iron Strider, the Preachers, the Castellan robots with the Engine Seer, whose only job is to keep the Castellan robots alive. Now, because I do play like a weird bastardized version of 8th and 9th edition, I do get to give these guys chances to steal. And the Ad Mech actually stole, so we get to start the game with the Ad Mech going first. So, Ad Mech turn 1. Movement. So at the start of this battle round, the Canticle of the Omnissiah, I get to choose one, and I'm choosing Shroud Psalm, which gives all of my units that are not in cover the benefit of being in cover. So +1 to their saving throws. So a lot of people advanced, but most people didn't. The Rust Stalkers advanced forward. The Dune Strider just moved up, but the Vanguard advanced. The Ballistari's got a really long range on its guns, so he's just going to hang out. The Dominus actually advanced over here to the side. The Cataphron Breachers just moved up. The Castellan robots just moved up, and the Engine Seer had to advance in order to keep up with them. We're going to keep these guys in the Dune Strider right now because there's orks. And we're Ad Mech, so who cares? No Psyker phase, so shooting phase. This should be interesting. Alright, well that was kind of surprising and kind of strange. So the Dune Strider killed a commando. The Vanguard actually killed 5 commandos. They did a really good job. The Bellstari tried to shoot at the mech gun and failed to wound anything. These guys aren't close enough or can see anything. And the one Castellan robot with the long-range gun failed to hit on the mech gun. Or not the mech gun, but the depth dread. So, there's that. Nobody's close enough for a charge quite yet, so that'll take us on over to orks. Turn 1. Movement. Okay, so the commandos have kind of come out from behind their little block thing there that didn't really protect them at all. The Warboss in Mega Armor has advanced up. The 2 proxy trucks advanced as far as they could. Depthcopters just moved up. The Death Killer Wartrike over there also just moved up. The Depth Dread advanced forward. No need yet to dump out the boys, so no psychics. So we'll go into the orc shooting phase. So yeah, orc shooting sucks. These 3 Depthcopters were able to kill 3 of the Rust Stalkers here. And I think for the first game ever, the mech gun actually did some damage to something. It did 3 damage to the Dune Strider here. Good job, mech gun. Yay. Yay. Charge phase. You know, orcs are pretty crazy, so I'm pretty sure that the commandos are going to charge into the Dune Strider here. And the Depthcopters are going to charge into the Rust Stalkers. So we'll see if anybody makes it. And fight phase. Alright, so the Depthcopters did not make their charge. The commandos made their charge, but they lost one of their dudes in the Overwatch experience, which was super weird. They managed to hit. They didn't manage to wound the Dune Strider, but it didn't manage to mow any of them over in return. Nobody in the commandos managed to run away, so good for orks. But having said that, that does make it the Ad Mech turn. So for the Canticle of the Omnissiah for this round, we're doing Benediction of the Omnissiah, which lets all of them reroll ones to hit in the shooting phase. So maybe that'll help. The saving throw last round definitely helped. Movement-wise, the Doomstrider here kicked out one of the squad of Rangers and then fell back over here. The Dominus just moved up a bit. The Ruststalkers moved a lot closer to these guys. They'll probably make that charge. The Vanguard are just hanging out, as is the Iron Strider. The Cataphren Breachers moved up. The Castellan Robots moved up, and once again the Engineer had to advance to keep up with him, but he's there. No Psychic phase, so the shooting phase. So the Vanguard here killed off all the rest of the commandos, which was nice. Those guys were getting close. The Breachers here did a little bit of damage to the proxy truck. The close Castellan robot got the truck down a lot further, so now it's just down to 2. But everything else just wasn't in range, or in the case of the Iron Strider, it just failed to actually hit. So that'll take us to the charge phase, which will be these Ruststalkers into the Deathcopters. We'll do the fight phase and see how that goes. That was super crazy. So the Ruststalkers made their charge, nobody died, and then the Ruststalkers killed 2 of the Deathcopters, and the remaining one only did 1 point of damage. So that was pretty crazy. I wasn't expecting that to happen. That being said, though, it does make it the orc turn. Movement. The Death Dread and Death Killer Wartrike have just moved over and up to get closer to the robots. This truck, all of the boys inside decide to hop out, and the truck has run away. The Warboss just moved up. The Mech gun never moves. This truck is trying to do something suicidal. I assume it's trying to draw fire from everybody, but I'm not quite sure why. And the Deathcopter is just going to stay in combat over here. No Psychic phase, so the Orc shooting phase. A lot of guns, but nobody ever really hits. I think that might be an Orc curse thing. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Either way. So that was a surprisingly successful orc shooting experience. So the mech gun here killed off 4 of the Vanguard. That was super weird. The Warboss did a point of damage to the Breachers. And the Death Killer Wartrike with his 3 boomsticks did a point of damage to the Castellan robots. I mean, that's pretty significant for what I have on the table for orcs at the moment. Charge phase. Well, they're still in combat over here. The Death Dread is definitely charging into the Castellan robots, and the Wartrike will also. Yeah, I think he's too far for that. So we won't charge the Warboss yet, but these guys are definitely going to charge, so charging in fight phase. Alright, so both the Death Dread and the Death Killer Wartrike made their charge, but the Death Dread took 4 points of damage in Overwatch. But then between the 2 of them, they managed to kill off one of the Castellan robots, and then the Castellan wasn't able to really hurt them at all back. Over here, the Deathcopter killed off the two Ruststalkers. So yeah, that was a pretty good fight phase for the orcs. No worries about morale, so that'll take us to the Ad Mech turn. Movement. So the Canticle of the Omnissiah for this round is the Chant of the Remorseless Fist, which lets them reroll rolls of 1 to hit in the fight phase. I think. I'm pretty sure. Literally just looked at it, and now I'm doubting what I'm saying. Oh well, we'll deal with it when I get there. So, the Dune Strider dumped out the last squad of Rangers and is now moving towards the Deathcopter. Everybody here in this area is just hanging out so they can shoot the truck. The Breachers moved a lot closer to the Warboss, and the last Castlin robot over there is kind of just hanging on, hoping he doesn't die. So, no psychic phase, so the happy shooting phase. I'm hoping that this will have better results for the Ad Mech. We'll see. Alright, so the Dune Strider and the Iron Strider Ballistari, between the two of them, killed off the last Deathcopter that was over here. The two Ranger squads and the last Vanguard destroyed the truck, and in its ensuing explosion, one of the orcs died trying to get out. And nothing else really happened. These guys failed to wound on the Warboss there, and he's in combat, so that does take us to the fight phase, the charge phase, really, rather. These breachers are going to charge into those boys over there. Castle is still in combat. Yeah, so we'll deal with that. The Cataphrone breachers made their charge. Nobody did any damage in Overwatch. They proceeded to kill 5 of the orcs, who then killed one of the breachers in return and mangled another one. Over here, the Castlin robot finally killed off the Depth Dread and took no damage from the Wartrike. Good deal all around on that one. So, none of these guys run away. Yay, low dice rolls. And that'll take us to the orc turn. Movement. Alright, these guys are just gonna stay in combat. The mech gun will never move. The Warboss has moved up. He can charge into these guys if he feels like it, maybe. These boys have moved up with the idea of multi-charging pretty much everything there. So yeah. No psychers, so probably a short orc shooting phase. The mech gun is definitely earning the amount of money well, okay, he was a present, but if I had bought the guy, then it would definitely be, earning in the money I had put into it, because he definitely did a lot of damage to the Dune Strider over here. Didn't kill it, but he did 5 damage to it. That's ridiculous. These guys were able to kill the last Skitarii Vanguard. And even though there are some pistols in this group, they were unable to hit any of the Cataphrone breachers. Yeah, that'll take us to the charge phase. So for sure, these boys are going to multi-charge into these Rangers and the Tech Priest Dominus. Yeah, I think that those guys should be able to take care of their opponents right now. The Warboss will just not charge. Yeah, no, they probably need the help. So the Warboss will charge into the Breachers too. We'll deal with that in the fight phase. The Warboss did not make the charge into the Breachers. The boys did manage to kill off one of the Breachers, but then the remaining one killed 2 of them off. The Castellan and the Wartrike had an epic battle, but in the end they're both still alive. They're just hurt pretty bad. These guys. The boys definitely made it into both. Nobody lost anybody to Overwatch. The boys did completely slaughter the Rangers. And then the Dominus killed 2 of the boys. Yeah, that was super cray. No morale. That makes it the Ad Mech movement phase. Alright, so not a whole lot of movement here. Both the Cataphrone Breacher and the Castellan Robot are going to choose to stay in combat. The Dominus has fallen back. These guys are just going to hang out where they are. And the Dune Strider just moved up as far as they could to get a better shot on the mech gun. It's actually proving to be a thorn. So that's already moved or not moved. No psychic. So shooting phase. So the Iron Strider Ballistari did 4 damage to the mech gun over here. And he's pretty much the only one that managed to successfully hit or wound anything at all. Yeah. Charge phase. Nobody's going to charge, but we do still have these 2 combats going on over here, so let's deal with those. So that was kind of surprising, actually. The Castellan Robot killed the Death Kill Wartrike, and the Cataphrone Breacher killed 2 of the remaining boys, leaving just the Knob, and then the Knob turned around and did a bunch of damage to it. Okay, so the Orc turn then. Movement. So as always, the mech gun never moves. The Warboss has moved over here to take on the Breacher. And the boys have gotten closer to the Tech Priest Dominus that ran away from them already, so... Oh well. The Orc shooting phase then. Orcs super suck. Nobody hit anything. So the Orc charging phase then, which will be the Warboss into the last Cataphrone Breacher, and these boys into the Dominus. So yeah, fight phase and charge phase and whatnot. So these boys definitely made their charge, killed the Dominus. And the Warboss made the charge, and he killed off the Cataphrone Breacher. So yeah, that was actually kind of a blow to the remaining Ad Mech forces. So let's see if they can turn it around in their movement phase. Ad Mech movement. Alright, so the Castellan Robot just moved up here to get closer to the Knob and the Warboss, and the Engine Seer just follows behind him. The Dune Strider has gotten a lot closer to the mech gun. The last group of Rangers just turned around to get better eyes on the boys here. And the Ballistari is just going to hang out. Yeah, that takes us to the Ad Mech shooting phase. So the Castellan Robot was able to kill the last Knob. Between the Iron Strider and the Dune Strider, they managed to kill off the mech gun. I should name that mech gun now. It did a lot of damage. And the Rangers here killed off 2 of the boys. Charge phase. Kind of loath to charge with these guys because they don't really have any melee weapons, so we're not going to do that. But the Castellan Robot, and by extension the Warpseer, are going to charge into the Warboss right here. Alright, so both the Castellan and the Engine Seer made the charge. The Engine Seer didn't do anything, but the Castellan definitely killed off the Warboss. Which leaves these 5 boys as the only orcs left on the field. Because I'm weird, I'm gonna make them go to the last orc, so it is their turn. They're not gonna move because they're gonna definitely charge somebody here. So shooting for them. Alright, so they managed to kill off one of the rangers. They're gonna go ahead and charge into the rangers, so we'll deal with that. Alright, these last 5 boys absolutely do not want to die. They made their charge, they didn't die, nobody lost anything in Overwatch, and they killed off the last 4 of the rangers. Which will make it the Ad Mech turn. Movement. The Castle Robot just moved his maximum distance, as did the Dune Strider here. And Battlestar is just staying where it's at. Yeah, so all 3 of these guys have guns that can reach this distance, so hopefully they can kill off the orcs here in the shooting phase. We'll see. Alright, well it did take all 3 of them, but they did manage to kill off the last 5 remaining boys. So yeah, Ad Mech win, but it hurt them a whole lot. They just have these 4 guys left alive. So future games, there is indeed the actual Knight Castellan, and then 3 Armiger Warglaives as well to be tossed into the mix. Plus he has a pretty decently painted, okay, Billy's a better painter than I am, so he has a well-painted Belisarius Call that will also be making appearances, so definitely nice to have some Ad Mech in there. I look forward to fighting them again with the Night Lords at least. The Necrons always wiped the floor with them. Probably another reason why my friends stopped playing my Necrons. I was trying to do a 200 sub video, the battle chest thing, but I'm still struggling with some of the more technical issues on that. So one of these days I'll get that video up. But until then, the show must go on with the happy death of, Xenos and whatnot. If you made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it, especially if you listened to all of the rambling before this. Yeah, Ad Mech. I'm looking forward, again, to including some of the Armigers over there, because those guys will definitely make a difference. Yeah, it's kind of come and go the whole game. Good times. You guys have a good day.